That is already the case. So the WIT platforms allows us to search in a multitude of providers. Currently, there is Digital NZ, there is TPLA. Okay, so so there are already several sources available. Yeah. Yeah. And you can mesh it up also with your own photos, which is the whole thing. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, this is for Romos. With regards to having a strategy when you're approaching collaborations like Media Commons, obviously we've all seen a lot of success stories, but maybe can you give an example of things that can go wrong when you don't have the strategy?
Easily. So the most common thing is you do an event. Okay, I go with a real failure. You are going you are trying to do an editathon or a Wikimedia event without much preparation and no one shows up. So that's something I've seen in Greece like 2 or 3 years ago, but that's just bad organization. If you manage to do that, the second problem is that you do the event and instead of becoming something you gain from, it becomes a liability. An example is the case with the taking pictures from monuments. I've seen some museums trying to do that last year in Greece. And it ended up with a very heated discussion regarding the panorama freedom. But we didn't do much editing. The third case is you actually do that, and you don't end up with a legal debate, and you do edit stuff, and it's really great, and then you do nothing about it, which is the commonest thing. So these are, I think, 3 pitfalls. The fourth one is when you do it right, which means you've done one, you know whether this one is going is having a suite of open source tools for cultural organizations and knowing what the European community of developers is for that. We can identify things there, but we still at a loss. I mean, we talked last time, I tried a bit, then it was a mess. I just missed it. Yeah.
I have another for Elena. Can you maybe talk about seeing the results of these collaborations, like in the actual classroom, like in the day-to-day, or like reports back from teachers and how it went. Just not even in terms of results, just how the students responded as students.
Well, we're definitely collecting information about that. It's too early to have these results, but when we are working with partners, this is one of the very explicit requirements. We want statistics, I mean, as quantity, but we want also feedback. And with Inventing Europe, just to give you an example, they had a special survey and they summarized the results and feedback from the students and educators on using Europeana data in a special document. It's not ready yet, but it will be, and we want to do similar things for each of us because, of course, it's a new market for us as well, and we want to do better. Yeah.
When we speak about education starts with the preschooler activities up to the PhD and after PhD student, and the long life learning education. So it is a vast variety of different audiences. So my question is what we are testing and trying here can target different audiences with the same product. And are we sure that accessing content is the right answer to the innovation in education at the different levels? Because I can see for higher education, for university education, PhD education, this is a methodology which is used generally, so already used. So if we provide more access, we provide more resources for that education. But in the case of primary, preschool, primary and lower secondary education, there, before giving access to content, we have to teach the teachers, because otherwise my impression is that if we just provide the content, we forget about what is happening until the higher education. Without teaching the teachers, these instruments are not really useful. How do you see this problem? So my question is for all. You can choose.
It is the very reason that we made the storytelling app, both for the museums as for photography. So the very reason that we made storytelling apps is because the story is triggering the learning, not opening a database full of pictures. That doesn't work. You cannot go to primary education and say, hey, we have here a lot of pictures from Europeana. That doesn't mean anything. So you need to start with telling a story, making openings to interactive work, making sure that even these children can contribute to the stories, can maybe put some pictures together and say what it means to them. That would already be a very nice application, but it needs to be something that they can do with this content, of course.
Might also be just not very nice to say, but might also just be a generational thing, right? I mean, kids are already more into a mix of cultures and bringing things together. So once they get into the teacher sort of age, it will kind of dissolve itself. Maybe you can't
No,
dissolve
go ahead.
It really depends whose perspective it is. From the perspective of a cultural institution, we really need to have educational programs that actually address both, apparently both teachers and different age groups, because it's children is not children. It depends on the age group you're talking to, right? So it's not like one thing homogeneous. Now, I think we need at least 2 to 3 things, because we are planning that we have planned that for our next year, and we had one group of courses or classes which address to. They're addressing both to different age groups of children and teachers. One of them is basically how do you use the tools. And that's a really important thing, and very much has to do with mobile devices, by the way, because that's the primary tool the kids are using. So that's really, really important, and the teachers need to know that. So you start normally from the child, you know what they do in different age groups, and then knowing who are the teachers. And the easiest thing is to find the champions, who are the schools which are pretty good anyway, and start at least with them and try to bring them in speed. But start always with the child and then go back to the teacher, not the other way around.
Yeah, awareness is really very important, and this is the reason why we work with already established partners in education. First, when we work with them, they have already connections to the teachers. They can communicate back to us the requirements of their own users. Otherwise, it will be too time consuming for us to reach to the children or the students in university and schools. So this is one thing. But also, when we provide our resources for teacher to experiment or for students to use, these resources will also come from a perspective of the student, from a trustworthy source. So it will be easier to be reused. So these are like 2 ways to address the issue. And what's also important is that we don't only give access to the source and tell the teachers, okay, these are Europeana resources, use them as you wish and experiment. But we work on pilots so that teachers can get an idea what can be done, how it can be done, and if there are any questions, we address them on the spot. So this is actually one of the highlights or the focuses of DSI2. We again, with European SchoolNet, we will develop a pilot with teachers across Europe so that, again, we are doing it together with the users and we are really getting practical and not abstract. And it will be the same with Historiana. We will create learning activities with history educators.